You can take classes and transfer or fast-track your career. Enroll for classes today and get free tuition for the spring. Visit evc.edu for more information and enroll for classes at evc.edu. That's evc.edu.
Come into Friedman's Appliance and see the full line of Fisher & Paykel's indoor and outdoor products. Experience them in person in live vignettes, including their famous dish drawer dishwasher and unique sizes of refrigeration designed to fit seamlessly into your kitchen space. Fisher & Paykel products deliver perfect results with exceptional design and performance. And for a limited time, receive up to a $2,000 rebate when you purchase qualifying Fisher & Paykel appliances from Friedman's Appliance. Visit Friedman's Appliance in Pleasant Hill or online at friedmansappliance.com.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-200-1966. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-200-1966. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-200-1966. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds, too. Call 800-200-1966. 800-200-1966. Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-700-6898. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-700-6898. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds, too. Call 800-700-6898. 800-700-6898.
Deebo Samuel in motion. Brock Purdy will dump it off to McCaffrey. He's got a blocker. He's headed for the end zone, and Christian McCaffrey has a 49er touchdown. Boy, some really nice downfield blocking.
Now, back to overtime with Kyle Madsen and Alan Stiles on 95.7 The Game.
All right, so we got an update for you. 49ers playoff update. The 49ers are the number 2 seed. They got there with their win. The Eagles successfully kneeled the ball out against the Giants. They get a 22-16 victory, and they're the 1 seed. Niners the 2 seed. Vikings the 3. The Seahawks have won. So the Seahawks win on a field goal in overtime, 19-16, the final score there. The Detroit Lions are now eliminated. So the 49ers in round 1 will face either the Green Bay Packers or the Seattle Seahawks.
Right.
So Sunday Night Football, Packers-Lions. Here's your rooting interest if you're the Niners or if you're a 49er fan. If you want to see the Packers, you're pulling for the Packers. If you want to see the Seahawks for a third time, then you're pulling for the Lions. That's what it comes down to.
Do you have a preference?
Yeah, I want no parts of Aaron Rodgers.
So before the break, I said if you're a Niner fan, you shouldn't be scared of anyone.
I don't want no parts of Aaron Rodgers.
No. But I'm not saying.
That's not what I mean.
Right. I said if you're a Niner fan, you should feel like you can handle anybody, and I think you should. But that still doesn't mean that you should want to face a Hall of Famer. So right. I don't think there's anything wrong with what you're saying. A lot of people would say, we referenced 8 Mile in the first segment, well, I don't care who it is. Well, that's fine that you don't care, but you should probably, saying I would rather not face a Hall of Fame QB if I don't have to, that's not.
If we're going to draw a path to the 49ers being upset in the first round, it is much easier to draw one with Aaron Rodgers than it is with Geno Smith.
Yes.
The way the Niners have dominated the Seahawks this year leads me to believe that they would be able to beat them for a third time.
And everybody says, oh, it's hard to beat that team that third time. And we get it. There is some familiarity there. But, as that saying goes, styles do make fights. It might be overused, but it has just looked good for the Niners.
And Shane Waldron, who's the Seahawks OC, comes from Sean McVay's offense. And the Niners defend that offense as well as anybody.
Right.
Now, that said, they've also defended Matt LaFleur's offense very well. Another guy from that tree.
Yes.
So again, it's not like I would be like, oh no, they are not going to beat Green Bay. I think they would beat Green Bay. I don't think Green Bay's defense is good enough. We've seen the Niners stop an even better version of this Packers offense. This year, it's like they're piecing it together with like Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. Like they're
Alan Lazard.
Like they're, Aaron Jones is good and AJ Dillon's good. Like I get that. They've got some talented players, but I think the Niners would win. But again, if we're drawing a path to a weird upset, I think it's much easier to do with the Packers than it is with the Seahawks. That's my thought anyway. Well, if you disagree, give us a buzz at 888-957-9570.
No, and I would agree with that too, simply because when you watched the Niners against the Seahawks, what could you say, okay, well, if the Seahawks do this or that, this is a completely different ballgame. Now, that game in Seattle, there was that possible pick that Brock Purdy threw that they weren't able to hold on to. But besides that, even though they have DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, really the line, that D line for the Niners has just owned Seattle, and Geno Smith has not been able to, have enough time to hit those guys. I think that's been the biggest problem. And we know that the Seahawks love to get going off of the running game first, and the Niners with that number 1 ranked running defense, they're not letting you do that.
Right.
So the things that the Seahawks need to do in order to be successful, the Niners don't let them do. Right. And the devil is better than the devil you don't. I know we've played the Niners have played the Packers in the past, right? But I'd rather face a Seahawks team who, let's be honest, they overachieved this year. I'd rather face a team that has overachieved than a team that has underachieved and have Aaron Rodgers with playing with quote unquote house money. I'd rather have the former than the latter.
Yeah, and the Packers, so the Seahawks, I mean, you mentioned it, they way overachieved this year, and they stumbled into the playoffs.
Exactly.
Whereas the Packers have been scorching hot. And not as hot as the Niners, who have now won 10 in a row. But if you're going to face one of those two teams, I think you'd want the team that is like, yeah, they're playing okay, but they needed overtime to beat that version of the Rams.
Right.
Like, that's tough. Whereas the Packers, like, they've been rolling. They housed the Vikings in Green Bay in a game that was not nearly as close to the final score. The Vikings scored the last 14 points of that game and still lost by 20.
Right.
Like, that was a butt whooping.
They've shown, I mean, that's the thing. The Packers have shown flashes all season. They just haven't been able to put it together. If we're going to sit there and say that they're starting to put it together now, I'd rather face a team that's starting to put it together than the team that's starting to fall apart a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's that simple. It's nothing about pride. It's nothing about, well, I want to take down Aaron Rodgers. And yeah, would you look? And that's the thing. If you're a Niner fan, you're going to get your bragging rights either way. You're going to get your bragging rights either way because you're either going to get to send home a division rival, right, in the Seahawks, or you get to send home Aaron Rodgers, and everyone knows that everybody loves to send home Aaron Rodgers.
The Seahawks, here's where it lands for me. And we'll get to Brenda. Brenda, I see, and she brings up something I wanted to talk about. But what it comes down to for me is the Seahawks are just a worse team. That's it.
Right.
And maybe you're the kind of person, maybe you're the kind of fan that's like, I want the hardest road. I'm not. Call me soft.
Yeah. I would
I'm
never.
Like, yeah, give me the Seahawks, man. Because you're right. Like, Niners owe the Seahawks.
Always.
Like a playoff beatdown.
Yeah.
They owe them a couple. The Seahawks cleaned the Niners' clocks for the better part of a decade.
Right. And
I'll take a third win over them.
Exactly. And look, if you find yourself at the end of a game, if somebody says, hey, any given, as they say, it's any given Sunday. Do you want any given Sunday to happen against Geno Smith or Aaron Rodgers? It's really that simple. It's that simple. And I know there are people out there that do, love to say, well, I to beat the best, you got to be the best. I want to beat them. I want to beat that. You want to get to the Super Bowl, and you want to win the Super Bowl. That's it.
I don't care how they do it.
I don't care how they do it. It doesn't really matter to me, and I don't think it matters to a lot of people. I think people would you'd like to send Aaron Rodgers home maybe a little bit more than the Seahawks because the Seahawks have overachieved. But do you want to chance Aaron Rodgers sending you home? Specifically, when we led this show talking about what's the worst part of the Niners defense, the secondary as of right now. Mm-hmm. So who do you want back there trying to cut up the secondary? Geno Smith or Aaron Rodgers?
Geno Smith, who's already struggled with your secondary twice this year.
Already. So
their offense scored 13 points in 2 games.
It's an easy answer. Don't overthink this. Don't overthink this.
It's not even close. But again, if you're the fan that is like, you know what? I want Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. Mm-hmm. That's what I want. Then great. I don't think there's like I said, I think that the Niners will be favored in both. Mm-hmm. I would guess they'll be favored by a couple more points over Seattle than they would Green Bay.
Right.
Brenda's on the line, and Brenda wants to talk about the 49ers since Christian McCaffrey arrived. And I think that is the point of the season, that if you're looking at this Niners season, I think that's the quote-unquote starting point of this year. Brenda, you're on overtime. What's going on? Hey, Brenda. Going once. Go on. She's out of here. Sorry, Brenda. Call back. 888-957-9570. We're also live on YouTube and Twitch. YouTube.com/957thegame. Twitch.tv/957thegame. Ernie Chavez in the chat. Want to know if we can see them? We can. They're making jokes about our studio again. Bro, I don't know what you want from me. I like ambiance.
Yeah. No, well it comes so fast, right? And we're getting ready to go, and then wait, the lights.
All right, Brenda's here.
All right, Brenda.
We'll get to her. We'll get to her in a second. Sorry, John. Brenda, you're on overtime. You want to talk about Christian McCaffrey? What's up? Oh no. Is the phone potted up? Oh man. Oh, Brenda. That's okay. We'll get her next time. Oh, we're good now? Brenda? You're on overtime. What's up?
Am I on?
Yeah, we got you now. What's going on?
Sounds good. Okay, so CMC was the right addition at the right time, and Jimmy was the right subtraction at the right time. The reason I say that is because our defense, offensively, our offense couldn't keep up. It wasn't a complementary aspect of our defense, right? How many times did Jimmy go out there? Can you remember a high 35 game, a low 40 game? And that's consistently what Brock Purdy is putting out, and that's why the Niners fans are riding with Brock Purdy. We don't show up questioning what kind of version of Brock Purdy we're getting every week. We see him staring down the defense. We see him making those tight passes. We see Kittle getting more busy, right? And that's because our offense is now being able to complement where our defense has been and is going to be. And so that's why, yes, Brock Purdy, in relation to our quarterbacks in the past, he is the best thing since sliced bread.
Boom.
Great point.
Brenda.
Here's and just to Brenda's point, Brock Purdy and the 49ers have basically averaged 30 points since Purdy's come in, right? Mm-hmm. They scored 38 again today. Since Purdy took over as the starter, 33, 35, 21, 37, 37, 38. Jimmy Garoppolo in his career with the 49ers, 51, 37, 31, 38, 33, is it 41? And a 37. So it happens, but not as frequently as they were hanging up 30 plus with Brock Purdy. So here's what I want to talk about with Brock. We get to this place when and I mean we, because I do this as well. When we're ranking quarterbacks or talking about quarterbacks, is Brock Purdy, because he's 5-0 and has, I think it's 13 touchdowns now with 4 interceptions, is he in the tier with Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen? Not even close. In a vacuum, he's the 27th best. I don't know. I mean, in a vacuum, he's not a quarterback that you would take first.
Right.
Just on his... But what he does is, in the concept of a team and the concept of this 49ers team, is he operates the offense extremely efficiently.
Yeah.
The Jimmy oh-no throw has been relatively non-existent. Does he make some bad passes? Yes. Every quarterback does. You want to talk inexplicable throws? Go watch Josh Allen play quarterback. Josh Allen makes 3 throws a game where your jaw drops because it's like, what?
Right.
Who are you throwing that to? That wasn't to anybody. It was a bad interception.
That's his thing, though, because he's the epitome of high risk, high reward. He's going to make up for it. Sure.
And the Bills, to this point, the Bills, the Chiefs, the Packers, the Ravens, certainly, even the Cardinals, the Kyler Murray, they're putting so much more on their quarterback to be like, hey, go create plays. The Niners are like, here's what Brock Purdy is good at, and we're going to maximize those things. Does he make some plays out of structure? Absolutely. Does he do it more than Jimmy Garoppolo? Yes. But is his arm strong? No. A weak arm. But I was talking about this today. Nick Mullins does not know that Nick Mullins has a bad arm.
Right.
And he threw an interception today. He came in for the Vikings. He threw an interception today that was a product of him not knowing his arm strength. Brock Purdy never has that problem. I think he, for the most part, knows the limits of his athleticism. And again, we're not talking about him in a vacuum. I don't think you are.
No, not at all.
And when it comes to, wow, Purdy's good, it's in the context of he's good in this offense.
Right. And I would also say that's why, even though he was picked last, he was picked. You know, I mean, there are a lot of QBs out there that, you know, are actually, I believe when Tony Romo undrafted, right? There are guys that don't even get the call. Brock Purdy, he is mystery relevant, but he was picked. And no pick is a wasted pick, right? You don't just take a guy for any random reason. You don't have time in the NFL because there's only so many rounds. They did think when they saw him, hey, here's a guy, he knows his role. You know, looking at the offense right now, did they think he was going to play? No, but did they think at that time, think about when the draft was, we have Trey Lance, and then we have a version of maybe a Jimmy who is more set to just run the offense in a more simpler fashion if need be. Turns out there was a need be, and the need be was this year. And when I look at what Brock Purdy does, he does the reason everything is working is because it's just a souped up version of what they were doing with Jimmy Garoppolo. We still have no clue what it was going to look like with Trey Lance. And we're not, I don't know when we're going to know when we're going to know what it is. All we know is what we've seen with Jimmy Garoppolo. Now you insert Brock Purdy, who is very similar, I would say, but, you know, is better in some ways. And I would say Jimmy is better in some ways, but I think in the ways that Brock Purdy is better, it helps because it's exactly what this team needed. When the play breaks down, you know, you have Christian McCaffrey, so you cannot afford to waste these opportunities. You have these guys. Can you extend plays? Anytime somebody gets beat, you can't just be, you know, left out to dry out there. You got to make some things happen, and that's what Brock Purdy can do. Kyle, when I look at Brock Purdy, and to be honest, this might be one of the last times, I don't want to lie, but this might be one of the last times that I compare Brock Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo. It might be one of the last times because to me, there's just no comparison at this point. Sure. To me, I understand that on paper, and when you look at, if we did the miles per hour and how they throw the football, and we did them, I think Brock would smoke them in the 40. But besides that, when you compare a lot of them, there are certain things that you can give or take. But when you watch Brock Purdy play, and when we look at the stats, if that's even, all I got to do at that point, if the stats are fairly even, which they have been for the most part, Brock is you know, doing much better in terms of the touchdowns, but yardage wise, you got to go with the eye test. And when I go with the eye test, it's easily Brock Purdy. Everything that he's been able to do. It just, I've said it before and I've said it again. He just makes me feel comfortable, right? The difference between what we've seen with Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy is that there were games with Jimmy Garoppolo when you would be surprised. You found yourself being surprised when Jimmy didn't throw an oh-no throw, when he hit all of his receivers, when the offense was fully humming, and you thought, wow, Jimmy had a good game. Then you'd look at the stats, and the stats weren't even eye-popping, right? Now, Brock, his stats aren't eye-popping either besides the touchdown stats. But you're going into games now, you might have been surprised at the beginning of the season or at the beginning of the Brock Purdy run because you didn't know what he was going to bring to the table. But to Brenda's point, you go into games and you expect him to play well, and he expects to play well. That's a level of expectation that we did not have with Jimmy Garoppolo anymore.
Yep.
So that's why I don't even necessarily want to waste my time comparing them anymore, because to me, there's no comparison. Jimmy, who's been in the league for years, we had higher expectations right now for Brock Purdy than we ever had for Jimmy Garoppolo, at least me personally.
That's interesting. I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to say the expectation is higher. The expectations are different. Because I expected Garoppolo, because you're right. I think physically, like arm strength, release, Jimmy's better.
Right.
But the way Purdy sees the field, his ability to escape and extend plays, when Jimmy's holding the ball and then moving around in the pocket, the longer he holds the ball, it's an inverse relationship between my confidence that he's going to make a good
Exactly.
Whereas Purdy, how many times have we seen him break out of the pocket, roll out, throw a touchdown, get a first down? Like, throw the ball away.
I was gonna say, or just throw it away.
Just get rid of it. Just make the right play.
Yeah.
He always... I'm going to bring the Warriors up here.
Okay.
Patrick Baldwin Jr.
Okay.
Is he the most physically gifted player you've ever seen? No. Especially as a rookie.
Right.
But he just knows where to be. He's just in the right spot. And I'll take that right now. from him. That's where I'm at with Brock Purdy. Just make the right play. That's why when people are like, is he the guy moving forward? I don't know. Because I don't know what the ceiling is. Is there a cliff that he's going to fall off? Where's the regression? What does it look like then? What does it look like after teams have a half a season of tape on it? I don't know. It might look great. It might look bad. But what he can do right now is operate the offense. He's going to go 15 of 20 for $178, 3 touchdowns, no picks.
Yeah.
I will take that. Do you know why he had 3 touchdowns? Because in the red zone, he's making the right read and then making a good throw. That's it. And again, there's limits. Like, that's why he went last. Because physically, like, those limits, I think, are eventually going to catch up. Where he's just never going to be that guy that, like, you need a very good defense and you need all these weapons.
Right.
But the Niners have those things.
Exactly.
That's why, like, could you drop them on the Texans and the Texans are a 500 team? No. No, the Texans are still going to stink. And Brock Purdy's probably not going to look as good. But guess what? We're in reality where the Niners have a number 1 defense. And the Niners have arguably the best set of pass catching weapons in the league. And a very good run game to boot. Like, Elijah Mitchell is so freaking good. He had 2 touchdowns today. He's their backup running back.
And the way he gets going, man, it feels like obviously you get ahead of steam before you hit the hole. It feels like he's been running for 10 yards before that. That's how much momentum he gets, in the little amount of time between when he gets the ball, when he hits the line of scrimmage. He's been crazy, Kyle. One quick thing. I know we're talking a lot of Brock Purdy. We got to give a shout out to George Kittle.
Okay.
Because,
yes, please. I want to talk about this.
His 100-year-old grandma was there for her first, getting to see her grandson for the first time play NFL game. So once I saw that, I said, well, book George Kittle for a huge day. And he did not disappoint, but have to give a shout out to George Kittle. And you knew it was going to happen, not only because Granny was there and you wanted to impress Granny, but you already knew that because of the relationship that Brock Purdy has with these receivers, specifically George Kittle. And George Kittle, his resurgence has been something that all these other teams, again, that are going to have to defend the Niners in the playoffs has to pay attention to. And we talked about it while watching the game. Brock Purdy, what's amazing about him is that he has a relationship with all of these pass catchers. You could make the argument, if you go through the list of pass catchers from Brandon Ayuk to Juwan Jennings to George Kittle, I would say and I'll count Christian McCaffrey, and the name that I'm bringing up last is probably the name he has the weakest relationship with, and that's Deebo Samuel. And if you were to ask me, hey, if you had to choose which relationship would you want, you have to choose whose relationship would you be okay with being the weakest. I would say Debo, because Debo, the way he plays, you don't necessarily need that relationship. It's a lot of, here, Debo, here's the ball, now go do your thing. So you don't need that. He's not sitting down in routes.
Right.
He's not doing a lot. I would say Brandon Ayuk first, George Kittle second, and then Christian McCaffrey and Debo because of how they catch the football and the routes that they run. So he's got a relationship with everyone. And now that we know that and other teams know that, you can't say, all right, these are the guys that he tends to go to. Mm-hmm. There are no guy that I've noticed that he tends to go to. And, okay, let's make sure there's no George Kittle in this situation. He's okay, well, then I'm going to Brandon Ayuk. And I think that's something that even if he's not throwing the home run passes or whatever it is, I saw Josh Allen throw a pass this morning that was just absurd. Even if he's not doing that, you still have to respect him in a different way because everybody that steps on the field, he can utilize.
Yes. And this is the stat that jumps out the most to me with George Kittle. Because remember early in the year, there was all the talk of what happened to George Kittle. Mm-hmm. He needed Brock Purdy. That's what happened to George Kittle in 8 games with Jimmy Garoppolo. This does not include the Miami game. So from week 3 to week 12, in 8 games, 36 catches, 450 yards, and 4 touchdowns for George Kittle.
Okay.
In 6 games with Brock Purdy, 24 catches, 315 yards, 7 touchdowns. And those 7 touchdowns have been created from Purdy looking for Kittle in the red zone. And that touchdown against the Raiders, he rolls out left. Oh, there's 85. I'm going to put the ball up and give him a chance to make a play. And did that again today a couple times. Mm-hmm. He had the 2 long touchdowns, specifically the one against the Seahawks, where Purdy steps up through the pocket and rolls left and found Kittle up the left sideline, and then Kittle runs after the catch. Right. He looks like George Kittle again. Mm-hmm. He looks like the George Kittle that was setting records in 2018.
Yeah.
And he just hadn't really looked like that over the last couple of seasons. And I think a big part of that is the way Brock Purdy plays quarterback.
Do you think that, when we can look up numbers for this, I know we're up against it, how much... Do we know if George Kittle has been blocking less since Brock Purdy has taken over? I'm just curious.
I'll look that up at the break.
Yeah.
Because we got to hit that now. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about other players who have benefited from Brock Purdy's arrival with the 49ers. And we will lay out what the 49ers playoff opponent situation looks like. This is Overtime. I'm Kyle Madsen. He's Alan Stiles. We're on 95.7 The Game.
Other banks go out of their way to make redeeming credit card rewards needlessly complicated. But Discover isn't like that. With Discover, you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount at any time. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply.
Here's to Prilosec OTC. Just 1 pill each morning and no heartburn all day. My holiday hero.
Prilosec OTC. 1 pill a day, 24 hours, 0 heartburn. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
And now another no-brainer money-saving tip from Progressive.
That doesn't sound good.
Paper shredder's jammed, but I think I fixed it.
Oh, well, try shredding these $50 bills then.
Seems like it's working.
Better try another $400.
Stop. Instead of using money, use regular paper. And here's a better tip from Progressive on how not to waste money. Don't pay too much for car insurance. Drivers who switch and save could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary.
I bet you folks are glad to be done with your shopping. Hopefully, all your gifts went well. But there's one last store to visit. This time, just for yourself. Your chance to get one of the top-rated Samsung, LG, or Sony TVs at a crazy low price. Where? At Video Only's year-end clearance sale. A great way to end the year. If you don't check out these deals at Video Only, you'll be sorry.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
With car prices at an all-time high, our donors are now getting highest receipts ever. Donate at carsforkids.org, and your car can be picked up tomorrow.
Cars for Kids, KARS
accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
If you own a business, this has been a bumpy ride. From pandemic to inflation, I'm sure you could use a break. If your business has 5 or more employees and survived COVID, you might be eligible to receive a payroll tax refund of up to $26,000 per employee. The challenge is getting your hands on it. Hi, I'm Howard Mackler, and that's why I founded GetRefunds.com to cut through the red tape and get you that money. The team of tax attorneys we have put together are highly trained in this little-known payroll tax refund program. We do all the work, charge not a dime up front, and simply share a percentage of the cash that we get for you. Businesses of all types qualify, including those who took PPP, nonprofits, and even those that had increases in sales. We have helped return over $1 billion to businesses, and we can help your business too. Just go to getrefunds.com and answer a few questions. This payroll tax refund is only available for a limited period of time. Don't lose out on up to $26,000 per employee. Go to getrefunds.com. That's getrefunds.com.
There's something about that polished green stretching across the 8th hole that whispers, just tell them you're at lunch. Because it's not a hobby, it's a peace of mind. Let CertaPro painters bring the same tones and peace of mind to your home. Our experienced painters are here to make your next painting project as carefree as a day on the green. To get your painting project started, go to CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C.
Each CertaPro painter's business is independently owned and operated. License information available at CertaPro.com.
Come into Friedman's Appliance and see the full line of Fisher & Paykel's indoor and outdoor products. Experience them in person in live vignettes, including their famous dish drawer dishwasher and unique sizes of refrigeration designed to fit seamlessly into your kitchen space. Fisher & Paykel products deliver perfect results with exceptional design and performance. And for a limited time, receive up to a $2,000 rebate when you purchase qualifying Fisher & Paykel appliances from Friedman's Appliance. Visit Friedman's Appliance in Pleasant Hill or online at friedmansappliance.com.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-700-6898. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-700-6898. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds, too. Call 800-700-6898. 800-700-6898.
When people have a craving to explore new and traditional Asian cuisines, they head to P.F. Chang's, where scratch-made dishes come from the 2,000-year-old tradition of wok cooking. P.F. Chang's wanted to explore new possibilities for their website. They turned to AmericanEagle.com. AmericanEagle.com re-architected P.F. Chang's website, integrating multiple third-party systems to create a unified digital experience. The results? Improved page speed and performance, personalized content based on users' location, intuitive online ordering, an increase in organic search visibility, and a 40% increase in new users. For scratch-made Asian cuisine, visit your local P.F. Chang's or go to pfchangs.com for website design, development, digital marketing, and hosting that produce efficiency, revenue, and results. Visit AmericanEagle.com. P.F. Chang's and AmericanEagle.com. Another example of the best businesses in the world, turning to the best in the business for websites. Go to AmericanEagle.com or call 877-WEB-NOW1. That's 877-WEB-NOW1.
Mitchell in the backfield. McCaffrey in motion. Elijah Mitchell has it. Bouncing into the end zone, and that's a 49er touchdown. A takeaway and a quick 6 for the 49ers.
Now, back to Overtime with Kyle Madsen and Alan Stiles on 95.7 The Game.
Yeah, we're live. And we got some ambiance in here. People in the YouTube chat trying to mess with our vibe.
You know, I don't know if it's our vibe or your vibe. You know, I'm more.
You're a bright lights guy?
I like the bright lights, but I am a guy.
Typical De La Salle guy.
I'm a good teammate. Yeah, that's true. But I'm a good teammate, and if you want the ambiance, I'm here for the ambiance.
I had no idea you cared. John, if you want to bump the lights on when you come in, then go for it. It's John, Luke, and our technical producer. No, there we go. No, we're good now. There you go. YouTube chat, you guys happy?
There you go. They want to see our smiling faces, you know?
If you want to check out the new lighting, youtube.com/957thegame, twitch.tv/957thegame. You can check us out on the free Odyssey app. Take us wherever you go. Maybe you're listening terrestrially. Maybe you're leaving the game and you're hanging out. If you want to join the conversation, 888-957-9570. That's 888-957-9570. 49ers are headed to the playoffs. Who they play, still TBD. With the Seahawks win, the Lions are eliminated.
Yeah,
so it's now down to 2
Lions.
teams.
Yeah.
It was 4 teams entering the day. Giants, if they lost and went to the 3 seed. Giants, Lions, Seahawks, or Packers.
Mm-hmm.
Giants and Lions are out. The Lions aren't even in the playoff picture at all anymore. They're eliminated by the Seahawks win.
Good season.
A really good season for them.
Yeah.
They were on the verge of being a total disaster, and their playoff hopes were dashed by a different team.
Mm-hmm.
So if the Packers win, welcome back Aaron Rodgers. We get Niners-Packers in the playoffs, which we're apparently destined to do until the end of time.
Mm-hmm.
It does not matter what route these 2 teams take. If they are in the playoffs together, they are facing off.
They can't avoid each other.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
I'm going to tell you what, Kyle, I don't want to, and I am not, again, before I say what I'm going to say, not worried about facing the Packers. All I will say is that it does seem that this whole thing, I mean, I don't even know if Aaron Rodgers, he's from the Bay Area. He might not even like, Lambeau, I know he's played there. He might not like playing in the cold. Just because you got to play in the cold doesn't mean you like it. So he doesn't have to play in the cold now. He doesn't have to play at home. He doesn't have the expectations of being that top seed and you had to buy this, that, and the third. And even though he's underachieved, they can rewrap it, reuse it, as anybody's re-gifted something you got from Christmas or your birthday, they can repurpose this and turn it into, well, we're the underdog now, and they can use this, and he's just Aaron Rodgers and a bunch of scrappy receivers, and nobody ever gave us a chance. So if there was one thing to keep an eye on, it would be that, but I would still take the Niners. Don't get me wrong.
No doubt. That is going to be, I think, the theme of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of who the Niners play,
right?
They will be favored, and they should be moving on to the second round. Like that is But I think throughout the week you're going to hear whether it's Packers or Seahawks, it's Aaron Rodgers or hard to beat a team 3 times.
Exactly.
You're going to hear that all week.
Either one.
And the Niners should probably win. But the thing with Green Bay, the thing that scares me with Green Bay. And I'm on board with you that I think the Niners would beat them. Especially given the history.
Mm-hmm.
And the Niners' ownage of Aaron Rodgers. Whether it was the Jim Harbaugh teams or the Kyle Shanahan teams, they've just kind of beat him up.
Right.
But the scariest team is a team playing their best football in December.
Mm-hmm.
And the 49ers have been playing their best football since October 23rd when they got blown out by the Chiefs. They played great football since then. Our caller Brenda earlier brought up Christian McCaffrey. Just the Christian McCaffrey acquisition.
Mm-hmm.
When he became involved in the offense on a full workload, the Niners haven't lost. Green Bay, on the other hand, they ended November with a 40-33 loss to the Eagles in Philly. That dropped them to 4-8. They have not lost since. They're 4-0 in December. They beat the Bears in Chicago. They beat the Rams. They beat the Dolphins in Miami. And then they housed the Vikings in Green Bay.
Right. And we can do the thing if you want, because somebody's going to do it if we don't. Those teams stink besides the Dolphins and the Vikings.
No doubt. Right? It's not like they've faced a murderer's row, but they've mostly handled their competition.
Mm-hmm.
And if they go in and win tonight in a must-win game, they're going to have won 5 in a row coming into this game.
Right.
It's just a hot team. Just a good team.
It's a hot team. And I'm looking now, if we're going to do it the other way, looking at this schedule, I guess I have to put Tom Brady, but I'm trying to look at the best quarterback that the Niners have faced throughout this 10-game winning streak.
Oh, no doubt. It's
either if it's not, up until if they face the Packers, they face Justin Herbert, who he didn't have his receivers,
right,
and Tom Brady.
Yeah, and keep in mind when the Dolphins came to town, Tua was rolling. Tua was in the MVP conversation.
We can count Tua. He was still on his. I think the Niners kind of ended the Linsanity run for Tua.
I tend to agree. No, you're right. The Niners and anybody that wants to have the critique of the 49ers that they have not really been tested, I'll buy that. Like, that's a fair criticism. But am I then going to say they haven't been tested, so they're going to lose to the Packers? No, I'm not going there.
No, and you could do the same thing about, the Eagles. A lot of these teams that are at the top, in terms of records, surprise, surprise, their strength of schedules weren't very strong. Like we can admit that there is a connection there. It doesn't It doesn't mean you still have to win your games.
Here's the thing. Let's just talk. I want to zoom out from the 49ers for a minute and just talk about football here in general. How many good teams are there in the NFL? How many really good teams are there?
Maybe 5, maybe less.
Okay, 5.
Right. So you're probably not going to play them every week.
Right. You're just not that's just not. The NFC East, very tough division this year because you got the Cowboys twice, you got the Eagles twice, the Giants were decent, you got them twice. Okay. But if you're in the NFC West or the AFC South or the NFC South and the AFC North, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, the Ravens have been without Lamar Jackson for so that's when you want to critique a team, like they haven't played anybody, it's like, okay, well you can play the Bills, you can play the Chiefs, you can play the Niners. So they can't play the Niners, can't play them. So you have the Chiefs, the Bills, the Eagles,
the Cowboys, the Vikings, who after you played them, you'd say, well, they were fraudulent.
Right. And the Cowboys, same thing. People are already saying that about Dallas.
Yeah.
So that's my whole thing with when the Eagles, I was saying this for the Eagles, and the Eagles got to, 8 or 9-0? Like they haven't played. What? No, I mean, you're not going to play a lot of team. Like it's hard to go through a stretch where it's like, man, that's a gauntlet.
Well, yeah, and then, look at on the other side, go to the AFC for a second. Okay, well, the Chiefs, right? The Chiefs, the Bengals, and the Bills. Like, well, the Chiefs played the Bills, and they lost. Are you any more worried about the Chiefs? Right. Are the Chiefs fraudulent? I don't think so.
The Bengals have beat the Chiefs twice in a row.
Right.
I do think it's interesting, though. Remember when the Niners lost to the Chiefs? They dropped to 3-4. And it was like, dude, they have the Rams, then their bye week, and then it's a gauntlet after the bye. They have the Chargers, Arizona and Mexico City. They got Miami. They got Tampa Bay. They're at Seattle on a short week. Oh, Washington's looking better. The Raiders, it was like this. It was supposed to be this second half just murderer's row, and it turned into, they haven't been tested.
Right.
They haven't been. Do you know why they haven't been tested? Because they're a pretty good team. The Dolphins' record looks a lot better if they beat the Niners. The Bucs' record looks a lot better if they beat the Niners.
And they beat teams up. They have the Niners now have that NFL record of, what was it, 0-15. Teams are 0-15 the week after they play the Niners. So they're going to beat you up. And it goes to show as well that it's not as if, it's not as if these guys are playing the Niners and, this is just, they got lucky or whatever the case is. The Niners are putting teams in a bad spot. The Niners are making teams rethink their philosophies.
Yes.
That's what they're doing right now. And when you can do that and when you can get into somebody's mentals, that's when you have the upper hand. And I think that you can look at a stat like that and say a lot of different things. But I would say this: if I am the Packers or if I am the Seahawks, already know that the only argument about playing the Packers instead of the Seahawks is just a familiarity, right? But they're also familiar with losing because they haven't been able to beat the Niners. But you can say, okay, the Seahawks, they know what they're getting into, right? But that's like me saying, just because you know what you're getting into, that doesn't make it any easier, Kyle. Like if I go up and I say, all right, Aroldis Chapman is going to throw me 10 fastballs. I mean, by the time I get to the 8th fastball, it might be a little bit easier to track, but I still have to hit a 100-mile-an-hour plus fastball. It's still really, really hard, even though I know what's coming. So that's why if you're the Seahawks, yeah, we know what they like to do. We know this, we know that. Cool. It hasn't helped you so far.
And I would argue if you want to say that the Niners, the one test they did have was Kansas City and they just failed it miserably.
Right.
I would argue this Niners team is much different than the one that played the Chiefs.
Agreed. I mean, what did McCaffrey have? What, 20% of the playbook at that point?
Yeah,
maybe 50%.
He'd been with the team for like 3 days.
Right.
Nick Bosa was hurt. Charvarius Ward was hurt, and the Niners they got pounded.
Mm-hmm.
Like that happens in the NFL sometimes. The Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs, went to overtime with the Texans.
Yes.
Overtime. Like that just happens. So that's one of my arguments. If you want to feel good about the Niners going into the playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
have they been tested? Probably not. I will accept that argument. But my pushback is they killed Miami.
Mm-hmm.
They killed Tampa Bay.
Right.
They killed Seattle. I know that game was 21-13. Seattle never had the ball with a chance to tie it. They scored late with 4 minutes left. The Niners never gave them the ball back. They smoked Washington. They had a hiccup against the Raiders. The Raiders played really well. And the Niners needed to fight and scratch and claw to win that game in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the Chiefs went to overtime with the Texans.
That's just one example. I mean, there are a ton of examples this year.
Yes. All over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So then the Niners finish up their year. They smoke the Cardinals. It's not like they're winning. It's not like they're doing what the Vikings are doing and winning by 3 points every week.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, man, that was lucky. Like, did they have some bounces go their way? Yeah, for sure. But you don't consistently score 30 plus and beat teams by multiple scores on accident.
No.
Like, they are that much better than their competition right now. And that's why I think you've got to feel good if you're a Niner fan going in, whether they face the Packers or they face the Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the second round, whether they're hosting Tampa Bay or who would it be?
The Cowboys?
No, it would be whoever they play. They could.
Mm-hmm.
There's a handful of teams they could play, but whoever they play at home in the second round, you'd probably feel good about that too.
You would.
So, if that's the case going into the playoffs, and you're the first game where you're like, again, projecting, maybe they hiccup and they lose next week, but projecting, they're going to be favored in the first 2 rounds. They're not even underdogs until the NFC Championship game. That
might be a coin flip, honestly.
That's a great place to be in.
Yeah.
Like as a team.
Yeah. And that might be a coin flip, to be completely honest with you. I mean, I just can't say enough. And we did it, Kyle. You know what? And before we go, we'll do a little bit more of this. We'll do little bit more of this in the second segment, because this is the last overtime of the regular season.
It is.
And we started off this season, and like we said, it was a bit of a shaky start for the Niners. And we sat there and look, I'm always going to overreact. That's what we have to do. You can't sit there. you can't sit there and lose a game and say, all right, okay, we got this many more weeks. We're chill, right? And do it again and again and again.
Mm-hmm.
We had things happening along with the losses where players were getting injured. Things did look dark, but there's always somebody on my beloved Xfinity Mobile text line. It's a long season. It's a marathon, not a sprint. We can't freak out yet. And I say, hey, you just have to start winning at some point. What we said when the Niners were losing these games that didn't make sense, when they lost, we know they were beat up against the Falcons, and we know some weird things happened. The Denver game was weird, but all we said was that, fine, you've used all of your mulligans now.
Yes.
Now you just have to run them off, and you got to keep winning. And you got to make sure you don't make any more mistakes, because you've made all of your mistakes now. And what did the Niners do? They didn't make any more mistakes.
Correct.
It was that simple. Now, at that time in October or early in the season, whenever it was, it's a tough assumption to think that they wouldn't make any more mistakes, because you just think, they're going to trip and fall over somebody.
Right.
And they just didn't. They just didn't. That Chiefs game, they just never really had a shot. But again, that team that the Chiefs played, I don't think would be the same team that the Niners would be in the Super Bowl. I'm sure the Chiefs were missing somebody. Everybody's always missing somebody. But this version of the Niners team, I don't think anybody, whether you were that person that said it's a long season, I don't think anybody saw this coming. Mind you, when they were going through the mud at the beginning of the season, how were we supposed to know that Christian McCaffrey was going to join the team?
Yeah.
Then on top of that, how are we supposed to know that Brock Purdy
was going to go from Mr. Irrelevant from literally having his jersey is in the Hall of Fame. His jersey from after he won that third start, because no rookie had done that before, is in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Who saw that coming? So shout out to all my it's a long season people, but I don't think even if you knew it was a long season, you saw this run.
There are so many things this Niners season, even before the playoffs. Forget the postseason's a different thing to me. Okay, the regular season's over. Let's contextualize these 18 weeks. There are so many things that happened that you could say, if you'd told me that in March, I would have thought there's no chance they do X. Like, if you told me, okay, Trey Lance got hurt. If you told me Jimmy Garoppolo is coming back, I wouldn't have believed you.
Right, number one.
And Trey Lance gets hurt. Jimmy Garoppolo comes in. Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt. Season's over. I said that out there. I was sitting on that couch in our green room, our lobby, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, green room sounds cooler.
It sounds way cooler. In restart, 3, 2, 1. I was sitting out there in the green room, which is what we call it.
Yeah.
And he got hurt, and I went, sucks to have the season end like that. Dang, that's a bummer. Another year down the drain. That's why they got rid of Jimmy, or wanted to get rid of Jimmy. They can't rely on him to stay healthy. And then Purdy comes in like, oh, he played pretty well. Okay, but let's wait till next week. Okay, let's wait till next week.
Let's see him on the road.
And now he's just, let's see a short week, and he's hurt in Seattle. Let's see. Oh, wow, okay, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Washington's defense is legit. They're for real. Oh, wow, lit him up. 37 points. It's been such an unbelievable year. Deebo Samuel, when he got hurt, it's like, oh no, how do they move the ball without Deebo? And B, how is he not out for the year?
Right.
He got his knee and his ankle. 3 games he missed, and he's back. And that's the thing that's hard to, like, today really drove it home, because I had been saying for the last few weeks, it's pretty incredible they're doing this without Deebo. That's really impressive. But today, with Deebo Samuel, just sprinkled in, I think he had 3 touches. It was really clear it was the get your feet wet.
Yeah.
Preseason game type thing. Elijah Mitchell, same deal. Get your feet wet. We'll get you, how many carries did Mitchell wind up with? 5. 5 carries, 55 yards.
2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns. 37-yard carry to set up the second touchdown. I was like, get your feet wet. You know? And it was like, dude, this is why, like, let's separate Brock Purdy from the conversation for a second. He is generic quarterback A. He's GQB. GQBA.
Okay.
When you look at this Niners team and their defense, and then it's Christian McCaffrey. Oh, and Elijah Mitchell, who was 8th in the league in rushing last year as a rookie, despite only playing 12 games. That's nuts.
That makes no sense.
So they've got him as their second running back. And then you've got Brandon Ayuk, who, shout out to Brandon Ayuk, went over 1,000 yards for the year.
Yep.
With his 59 yards today.
Who's always open now.
He needed 45. By the way, did you notice? Second half, first throw went to Ayuk. He was done for the day.
Done.
Get you your 1,000. Get out of here.
Yeah.
That was his last target. So yeah, Brandon Ayuk. Okay, and George Kittle, who's rolling, by the way. And looks like a player that, like, oh, you have to make sure he's covered because Brock Purdy is going to find him. It's not just take away the middle of the hash. And I think that's the big deal about generic QB-A. Is it's not just, hey, it's middle of the field. It's, oh, he might scramble and find this guy over there. You have to cover more of the field with GQBA. But it's Kittle. It's McCaffrey. It's Ayuk. Oh, yeah, hey, and by the way, let's put Deebo Samuel back in. That's why I'm excited for the postseason, because we're going to finally see a version of the 49ers that we haven't gotten to see yet.
Right.
Elijah Mitchell, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo, Kittle, and now let's insert Brock Purdy, who is, like you alluded to earlier, and I think it's a great point, who started to build this rapport with McCaffrey, with Ayuk. End of the Raiders game, it was Ayuk. Fourth quarter, it's 6 catches for 81 yards. And then George Kittle, 7 touchdowns. 3 multi-touchdown games with Brock Purdy in the last 4.
That's his number one guy.
It's his guy.
But if you were to just watch a game, you could say, well, I thought it was Kittle, but I don't know. He seems, if we said, who does it seem like is Brock Purdy's guy? You'd say, I mean, it's probably Kittle, but I don't know. He goes to Ayuk a good bit too. And who's this Juwan Jennings guy? I mean, McCaffrey is always open in the flat as well. So multiple things there. And to your point, Kyle, on the YouTube chat, somebody also said that we still haven't necessarily seen Christian McCaffrey and Debo in the backfield. There are still so many versions of this offense that we haven't seen. One, because I think Kyle Shanahan is smart and he doesn't want to show all his cards. And two, and he hasn't had to. Right. And two, and we've got on him because, this looks a little, he could be doing
vanilla.
More. Right.
Stale.
At times it did, but
totally.
I'm trusting that maybe some of this was, hey, I want to make sure that we still have a whole set of plays that nobody has seen going into the playoffs. And I think that it's chess, not checkers, and the ability for the Niners to go into the playoffs healthy without having to show too many of their cards and with just unknown cards, because you have Brock Purdy, who is on a bit of a run, and nobody, even if you say we're going to plan for Brock Purdy so quickly, Kyle, Monday, me and Whitey did the morning roast, 6 a.m., and I said I saw something on Twitter that said that Brock Purdy doesn't like throwing to his right down the field. He only really throws to his left down the field. And I thought off the top of my head, oh yeah, those balls to Kittle, it does seem like he doesn't go to his right that often. So I tried to keep an eye on it today as best I could. Obviously, the game got out of hand a bit. The kid can throw everywhere. It's a scheme. And I think that is the one thing when you have those limitations, but you can work within all of your limitations to the best of your ability, you almost have more options than that guy that's got the cannon arm, because everything is available to you. It might not be the home run play, but all these doubles, base hits, bunt for base hits, they're all available to you. And if you can do that, that's just as impressive to me as the home run ball that comes once every couple plays.
Let's talk about Brock Purdy. Let's talk about Kyle Shanahan, because I don't think you can tell the story of this 49ers season without talking about their head coach, who I think has a really good argument for Coach of the Year. And does Brock Purdy have a Rookie of the Year argument? We'll talk about that. I'm Kyle Madsen. He's Alan Stiles with John Thomas Lucan in the building. This is Overtime on 95.7 The Game.
Norman, before we start the surgery, I have some bad news.
What is it, doctor?
Well, I never graduated from med school. But the good news is, it's the Xfinity Hello 2023 sale. Now hurry, because new Xfinity customers can get 75 megabit internet for just $19.99 a month for 12 months with a 1-year contract. And this will get your heart rate up. When you add Xfinity Mobile, you get the best price for 2 lines of unlimited.
I gotta get this deal.
Plus, for a limited time, get $500 back with 2 new mobile lines.
That's amazing, Doc.
I know. I don't want to miss this deal. Let's reschedule.
Doc?
Drop everything and get to the Xfinity Hello 2023 sale now through January 10th. Go to Xfinity.com/Hello2023. Call 1-800-XFINITY or visit a store today. Restrictions apply. Internet offer requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. After term, regular rates apply. Xfinity Internet required for Xfinity Mobile. Compares Xfinity Unlimited Intro to lowest price 5G plans of top 3 carriers. Reduced speeds after 20 gigabytes of usage per line. Data thresholds may vary.
Boy, am I glad to be done with my holiday shopping.
Oh, I know.
And now I just want to relax.
Me too. Well, except there's one more store we should check out.
Oh, no way.
Because this week, we can get a Samsung, LG, or Sony TV at an incredible price.
Really? Where?
At Video Only's year-end clearance sale. They're really cutting deals.
Because the holidays are over?
Yep. So this is our chance to get what we wanted for Christmas.
Are the prices really that good?
Yes. For 7 days they are. And Video Only has those top-rated models we were thinking about all on sale.
All right. The best stuff cheap is worth a trip.
At Video Only, you won't find huge stores with refrigerators or microwaves, but you will find the best deals on top-rated TVs, soundbars, and monitors. Shop around. Just make sure you visit Video Only, because if you don't,
you'll be sorry.
In Mountain View, San Mateo, Union City, Dublin, and San Rafael. Video Only.
Make connections that count at Evergreen Valley College and get free tuition when you enroll for 6 units or more. That's right, free tuition and no student fees this spring. EVC is an award-winning transfer college and has the 4th most diverse faculty in the country. And with EVC alum earning more money than nearly every other community college in the country, you can take classes and transfer or fast-track your career. Enroll for classes today and get free tuition for the spring. Visit evc.edu for more information and enroll for classes at evc.edu. That's evc.edu.
Hi, I'm Aaron, owner of California Deluxe Windows. Ever notice? When your neighbors get new windows, there is a large black eye of broken stucco, uneven plaster, and even mismatched paint. At California Deluxe Windows, we never leave a ring around the window. Why? Because we are one of the only companies in California who custom crafts every window and door to your home's exact measurements. Almost everyone else on the radio is a distributor. They grab a window from a warehouse, break open your walls, shove it in, and patch things up. At California Deluxe Windows, we take pride in our work. Our installation technique is so precise, we do not break your stucco. Your house could be covered with potato chips, and we wouldn't crack one.
Call now, and for a limited time, you get 30% off your entire order and 24 months of interest-free financing. 800-874-3600. 800-874-3600. That's 800-874-3600. California Deluxe Windows. Windows engineered for life.
Certain terms and conditions apply. CSLB number 774518.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-200-1966. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-200-1966. That's 800-200-1966 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-200-1966. 800-200-1966.
It's not easy being the one everyone counts on to keep your operation running, no matter the weather or supply chain hiccup. But we get you, Raymond in Buffalo, Maria in Miami, and Jules in Troy, taking control of everything that's under your control. At Grainger, we're here for you with high-quality supplies for every industry, plus real-time product availability and access to experts ready to help. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Progressive presents Adjusting to the Suburbs.
I never really thought about tools until I bought a house in the suburbs. It's like this weird homeowner test if I need a tool for a project and don't have it. And my neighbor Ted loves to give me that look when I ask to borrow a pole saw. A year ago, I didn't even know pole saws existed. And now I gotta borrow one from Ted? What is happening?
Anyway, when you save with Progressive by bundling your home and auto, that's the easy part of adjusting to the suburbs. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company coverage provided and serviced by affiliates and third-party insurers.
Second and goal. Purdy, end zone throw. Oh, a fingertip catch. George Kittle has a 49er touchdown.
Now, back to overtime with Kyle Madsen and Alan Stiles on 95.7 The Game.
I'm going to read you some numbers.
Okay.
Big numbers guy.
You beat me to it.
But I'm also an eye test guy. I watch the games.
Okay.
Grinding the tape. But Brock Purdy this year as a starter, because if you want to include his entire season, that obviously then includes the Miami game, and it includes his 4 for 9 with a pick in garbage time against the Chiefs.
Right.
As a starter, he completed 68.5% of his throws. He had a yards per attempt of 8.9. which I believe would have led the league this year. I will confirm that right now. But his completion rate of 68.5 would have ranked 4th in the league. His yards per attempt would have tied with Tua for the highest in the league. His touchdown rate would have been the best in the league. Tua and Patrick Mahomes tied at 6.3%. So that means the touchdowns you throw per pass attempt.
Right.
So 6.3 of Patrick Mahomes' pass attempts go for touchdowns. Brock Purdy was at 8.9. And his interception rate was 1.6, which would have tied with Jacoby Brissett for the 8th best in the league.
Not bad.
Daniel Jones led the league with a 1.1 interception rate. That's wild.
Yeah.
And again, that's percentage of throws that turn into interceptions.
Right.
Brock Purdy, by all numbers, had an elite year.
He did.
Not saying he's an elite quarterback.
Right.
Because he's not. He is not. But he produced like one.
Well, now hold on now. We could say he's not an elite quarterback right now. That's not to say he might not ever be. He might not have an elite quarterback tool set, but that doesn't mean he can't be an elite quarterback or that he wouldn't be an elite quarterback. So I'll give you that one. I wouldn't put him I wouldn't call him an elite quarterback right now, even though he had elite numbers, but I'm not going to say he'll never be one. He doesn't have elite.
We have no idea.
Right. We have
I'm not
no
talking
idea.
future.
We have no idea.
You're
right now, he's
You're right.
not.
That's fair.
Right now, he's not. But he played like one.
To me, an elite quarterback is like you could plug that guy onto any team and he's going to be awesome.
Sure.
I'm not there with Brock.
Well, and that's what they say about numbers. Numbers never lie, but they don't always tell the whole truth.
Right.
Right.
But I read these numbers to you because we watch everybody listening to this and watching on YouTube and Twitch. They see what we see. The physical gifts are not elite.
Right.
And that's fine. That's why he dropped it. It's not a bad thing. It's not like dragging the guy.
Yeah.
That's just what I see.
Well, John was even saying when we were watching the game, that there was a video going around when Brock Purdy's walking into the locker room. He just looks like a regular dude. You talk about Dale Sal. I know at least 100 dudes that look like that went to my high school.
Mike McGillivray?
He's one of them.
It's your guy?
Shout out Mike McGillivray.
I had a hit off him.
There you go.
Senior year, yeah. Hey, he tried to pump a fastball. He's like, no, sir. Anyways. That's great. But the reason I read these numbers to you is just to show what Kyle Shanahan has gotten out of this guy that leads people to text us things like, stop acting like he's the best thing since sliced bread. Like he's not the best quarterback in the league. He's not a top 10 quarterback in the league. He's not even top 15, just talent-wise. I'm not going there. But he's operating this offense at a level of efficiency, and that's another word that scares people. That's just how easily they move the ball at a rate that nobody has under Kyle Shanahan. People always want to circle Nick Mullins. Nick Mullins turned the ball over too much. They were playing from behind so often that's why he was throwing it so much. Brock Purdy is so much better than Nick Mullins. It's not even close. Not even close. So what Kyle Shanahan's gotten out of this guy, he should, to me, get Coach of the Year just for that.
I think he's not being talked about enough because I think part of it is what we've said. Part of the reason Brock Purdy has played the way he's played is because that defense is really good. And the offensive line has started to gel. And he's got really good weapons. And he's got an even better weapon that came in Christian McCaffrey. So we get all that. But if it's hard to take it away, but who saw this coming with your third stringer? People, I think, are keeping too much. If you just put it on that and you take away the fact that, well, Trey Lance was the first quarterback or was the starting QB, but Jimmy was actually better, so it's not really the third or whatever. It's the third string quarterback. That's it. So for what he did with a third string quarterback, I don't think that you can hold it against him. Now, if you want to argue somebody else, I know obviously Dayball, there's some other names floating around, sure, but he should definitely be. I want to say top 2, but if you want to make it top 3, sure. But he should definitely be in the conversation. There's no doubt about it. I don't care who you have on your team.
We have reached a point, and again, I think this is a testament to Brock Purdy and this 49ers team. We've reached a point that the fact that he was Mr. Irrelevant in the draft, that cannot go overlooked, and it is. Mr. Irrelevant is not even supposed to make your team, much less start for you, much less play at the caliber that Brock Purdy has played.
Break records.
This doesn't happen. Mr. Irrelevant, this cannot be said enough. Prior to Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, the final pick of the draft, had never thrown a pass in the NFL. Had never thrown a pass. And he stepped in and as a starter threw 124 of them things and completed 68.5% of them. Elite rate. Completed 8.9% of them for touchdowns. 11 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. If Patrick Mahomes, not Patrick Mahomes. He's
an alien.
He's an alien. If any other quarterback had the stretch that Brock Purdy just had, it would be like, whoa, look at how well this guy's playing.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is a double-edged sword because you cannot overlook the fact that they're doing this with the last pick in the draft. But at the same time, you can't diminish what he's doing because he was the last pick in the draft. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Help me.
And we're getting to the point where we're not looking at him when we view Brock Purdy and when we say, okay, he had a good game, he had this, he had that. We're not saying, he was Mr. Irrelevant. He is a third-string quarterback. We're just saying it's Brock Purdy. We expect this out of him because this is what we've seen. And he still hasn't had a stinker, right? The basement play that we've seen from other QBs that have wore the red and gold, whether it's Jimmy Garoppolo, whoever it is, or Nick Mullins, aforementioned Nick Mullins, the basement play that we've seen from them has been dirty. It's been the basement that nobody touches, that there's roaches and rats down there. The basement play that we've seen from Brock Purdy, it's been the basement that you want to go visit your friend because they got the PS5 down there and you got snacks and you can do a bunch of things and you hang out. Okay, Mom, I'll get my pizza rolls in a little bit. That's the basement. Sounds like a vibe, to be honest. Not a mansion. It's not a mansion, but it's a cool little place to be. That's Brock Purdy's basement.
It's that 70s show basement.
Yes, exactly. It's a 70s show basement. So as long as that's your basement, even if the ceiling isn't, up in the Ruby Hills or wherever you want to call it, that is what you need right now, and that's what Kyle Shanahan needs right now, and that's why they've been able to kind of just toe the road throughout this time. And when you look at his numbers, no, he's not going to break 300 passing yards. That's it. Right. But he doesn't need to.
This was always going to be a team that was defense first, run game, yards after the catch. That identity was never going to change. Their goal was to change it a little bit with Trey Lance in hopes that in the future they wouldn't need a number one defense and all these weapons to get them to the playoffs.
Right.
But right now, the fact of the matter is they do. And what Brock Purdy does is operates that to maximum efficiency.
Right.
If they win a Super Bowl, it's going to be like they played great defense. They were great after the catch. Their offensive line played really well, and they ran the heck out of the ball. That's what it's going to look like. There was never a path with Brock Purdy, and to get to your point about basement, that's all that mattered. There was never a path where it was going to be like, whoa, they have a 10-time Pro Bowler here. No, it was, can he play well enough that when he doesn't play well, their defense and run game can get them over the hump?
It doesn't kill us.
That's it.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where Jimmy Garoppolo had gotten. It's like, even when, now, save for like the Broncos game when he first came back this year and just played abysmal. For the most part, the worst Jimmy game was, okay, he threw a couple of picks, but defense only gave up 3 points after the 2 picks, and he threw a touchdown later, and they overcame it and they were good. And that's kind of where Purdy's at.
Right.
I think his worst game was probably Seattle. And like I said, they won that one by 8, but it felt like more than that.
Right. On the road, injured, right?
Short week.
First time on the road.
Yep.
So a lot of things that he had to battle through. The 415 is chiming in on the Xfinity Mobile text line. The basement for Brock is a scaled down man cave. Ain't that the truth?
I'll take that.
Ain't that the truth?
Give me a scaled down man cave.
Oh yeah. It's not the one
That's
your
the
buddy
vibe
has.
I'm going for in here with the lights down.
No, I had to turn the lights on, by the way. Ernie, I hope you see I turned the lights on, man.
He did that for you, Ernie. You're influencing the show.
Jeez.
888-957-9570. That's 957, like the station. 957-9570. Jose is in Mountain View. He said Kyle Shanahan won him over. Jose, you're on overtime. Please explain.
Hey, at the beginning of the season, I was in so much doubt. And, I'm an old guy. I'm like 52, so I've seen a lot of Niners football. Can't do me, man. It's just it's play calling. It's not, what happened to the short dump off passes to the running backs and screens and this and that and slant passes, route passes. He's got a quarterback now.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, I should have known. This is a team now. You don't have to have the Trey Lance, the superstar, megastar, making a dramatic effect when you actually have a quarterback, someone who can read the defenses, understand your playbook, and make the right decision as you figure it out. And that's because of Kyle being able to now have a quarterback who understands that, who doesn't get nervous, who stays in the pocket and makes things happen. And then if there's a mistake with an interception, hell, he goes right back at it again with no fear. And that's what you need. You just don't have to.
Thanks, Jose. So I agree with him for the most part. I will say this, though, and he brought up checkdowns to the running backs. Mm-hmm. That was something that Matt Ryan did quite a bit of during his MVP season. And I think, let's rewind this. They gave Jerick McKinnon all that money to be that player.
Right.
To be the Christian McCaffrey type. They built their offense around him. This will relate to this year. Follow me. I'm going to try and not get too convoluted.
I got you.
They signed him to be what Christian McCaffrey was this year. I promise. I know that sounds insane because Jerick McKinnon, really? That's why they got him. That's why they paid him all that money.
Maybe a diet version.
He was going to be the focal point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he gets hurt the week before the season, and that's why their offense looked a little disjointed because they had to redo everything on the fly. Okay? And then Jimmy got hurt, season was over. But since then, Jerick McKinnon couldn't get healthy, and they tried it with Matt Breida. Okay, Matt Breida, not really the guy. They tried drafting Trey Sermon, not really the guy. Raheem Mostert, not a good pass catcher. Not the kind of player that you can just split out and be that kind of pass catcher. So he was good runner, but again, not what Shanahan was looking for. They tried it with Trey Sermon again, didn't work. Ty Davis Price, didn't work.
Oh, JaMychal Hasty a little bit.
JaMychal Hasty, fine player, but not what they need. Elijah Mitchell, really good runner, not that guy you can just split out and be like, hey, catch passes and get first downs.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why this year he went, screw it. Trade whatever, go get Christian McCaffrey.
Right. Let's stop trying to draft another Christian McCaffrey and just go get Christian McCaffrey.
Right. So instead of getting the elite quarterback they thought they might get with Trey Lance this year, they got an elite running back. And Jose makes a great point. I don't think it's a coincidence that Brock Purdy played really well as Christian McCaffrey started to get... Even Jimmy Garoppolo. Remember Jimmy Garoppolo was playing better?
Yeah.
It's not a coincidence that he started playing better and Brock Purdy has played so well since Christian McCaffrey came on board.
Well, yeah. And it's because that third down threat, for sure, right? Where it's, do I force the ball to Jennings? Do I force the ball to Ayuk? No, let me just give it to McCaffrey and he'll take care of the rest. And that's what it's been. And that has been when you going back into the whole coach of the year, well, he has all these things. That's all part of it to me. Making sure that you have a team that is well-rounded and seeing, okay, we did the pick your poison thing. We did that during training camp. We thought they had enough weapons. Noticing, okay, we think we're in a good spot, but if we want to get over the top, we got to make some moves. And to have it hit and to have people say, you gave up too much for him, he's banged up, he's this or that. I thought we saw a little bit too much of McCaffrey today. And as soon as I said that, we stopped seeing him. I'm not saying that they were listening to us in the green room, but I am saying that they understand that they have a player that they want to make sure is healthy for the playoffs. And they knew that a team like the Niners can get a Christian McCaffrey because you already have a bevy of weapons. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't have to be a Christian McCaffrey full day. It doesn't have to be a Debo day. It doesn't have to be a Kittle day. So you can grab a guy like that, and if there is a game where you are going to make him have 20 plus carries, which he did have some of those this season, but Debo has been out, he's been injured, things like that, then let it happen in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Once it's playoffs, all bets are off. McCaffrey, if the run's working, well, dang it, we're going to run that thing.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, and when we don't have to, we can still spread things around. So that's why the people that were scared about the McCaffrey thing, and look, he can get hurt and everybody can look stupid next week. That's just football, right? But there are teams that were interested that would have just made it the McCaffrey show again. And I don't know that he could handle that, but he could handle a team where
McCaffrey is the focal point, I'd say, but you can make the argument. As long as you're on a team where you can make the argument. And if you're making the argument and you have Christian McCaffrey, that's a pretty darn good offense.
He's the focal point, but not the only card they have to play.
It's a 1A, 1B.
When you go triple team Christian McCaffrey, it's not generic wide receiver that you can leave on an island with your third corner because they'll be able to lock him up.
Right.
It's, okay, Christian McCaffrey's going to go to the flat, which means you're in conflict now. Do you go get him or is it George Kittle?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the safety comes down to get George Kittle. Okay, but here's Brandon Ayuk cutting in behind him.
Right.
And then, and now there's a guy who's got to deal with Deebo Samuel down here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is such a well-built, deep roster on both sides of the ball. And they did that because Kyle Shanahan recognizes there's 6 quarterbacks who are just going to get you to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
There are 6 guys who are that talented. They tried to get one with Trey Lance, and they might. He might get there, I don't know. But they've built a roster that is, for the most part, plug and play at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a requisite level of skill you need to have. But for the most part, it's plug and play.
Yeah.
And they're getting, like I said, elite production from Brock Purdy. Not saying he's an elite quarterback, but his production has been that good within this offense. And that's why it's hard to look at them going into the playoffs and going, I don't feel good about them against Team X.
Well, you can say it's plug and play, but that still doesn't mean that any player would play like Brock Purdy's been playing, right?
Sure.
They would still be,
look different.
They wouldn't be left out hanging to dry, but they would, they'd still be able to do some things. Another thing that I wanted to get into, Kyle, is this word that we use or I guess a term that we use that a lot of people find to be a negative, right? And I think that it is important where Brock Purdy was drafted because I do think that this term is only used negatively if more is expected out of said quarterback. And that term is game manager. And nobody, all these quarterbacks, well, I thought this quarterback was going to be a star. They're just a game manager. Alex Smith, a lot of people didn't necessarily think that the Niners made the right decision because he was a game manager. Mm-hmm. But that's because of where he was drafted. He was a top pick. Game manager, just based on what it actually is not a bad thing. A game manager in certain situations, in certain offenses, is not a bad thing. Kyle Shanahan, for this offense specifically, really only needs a game manager. And for Brock Purdy to be called a game manager is actually, the opposite of a negative thing. It's a positive thing because Brock Purdy's thinking, at least you're calling me something because you were calling me Mr. Irrelevant. I'll take game manager. And if you're getting a game manager with your last pick in the draft, that's great. So this idea of game manager being a negative thing, I feel like that should only really apply to when you expect somebody to do more. We didn't know what to expect with Brock Purdy. So him being a game manager, you should take that to the bank all day and all night.
With these weapons and with this defense, that's all you need.
Mm-hmm.
A very, very good game manager. And that's what Purdy's been. Again, not to insult him in any way.
No, it's not shade.
Not at all. Let's get Jay in here from the garage. Jay rocking with overtime. Jay on with Kyle and Alan. What's up, buddy?
I'm chilling. So I got 2 points, and please hear me out. Okay, the first one is I'm not comparing Brock to Brady. Just want to get that across. However, I am comparing Brock to young Brady and its pocket presence. A young Brady and an older Brady, he did the little things. He did the little step to the left that just changed the angle just that much to where he did not get touched. He just stepped up 2 paces, changed the angle that much, and he has pocket presence. That's what Brock has, and he has the swagger. And that's what everyone needs to understand what's going on with Brock. I'm not comparing him to Brady, but I am comparing him to young Brady because I saw that right away with Brady.
Yep.
That's what he did. The other point, and I just want to put this out into the ether because I know Lynch listens to local radio stations during the draft or before the draft. I want to say, Jay from the garage, put it out there. Every year, I don't care if you have Peyton Manning, you have Drew Brees, you have Brady. Every year you draft a quarterback in the final 2 rounds. I don't care that we have Brock Purdy. I don't care we have Trey Lance. You draft a quarterback in the last 2 rounds. And if anyone at your radio station ever has a chance to talk to Lynch, ask them, did you listen to Jay from the garage about drafting a quarterback every year? Because they drafted Brock Purdy with the very last pick, and I just want everyone to know that's what happened.
We got to run, Jay. Thanks so much. Yep. Hey, that's congrats. Right. Jay in his garage is responsible for the 49ers' success this season. I'm rolling with that. That's canon now.
I mean,
when we tell the story of this 49ers season, it's going to start with Jay.
It starts in Jay's garage.
That's canon. Who's your overtime overachiever? Real quick, we're up against it.
So my overtime overachiever, it's going to be you, Kyle.
Oh,
I'm going to be that guy.
Oh, you stop
No, I'm going to be that guy. Look,
we got like a minute.
We got a minute. I'm going to be that guy. This was great doing the overtime with you. We're not done, obviously, but it is the last regular season game. So you, sir, are my overtime overachiever.
That's so nice of you, man. Thank you. I'm going with Azeez Al-Shire.
Yeah. As you should.
No, I'm giving it to Brock Purdy today. Yeah. He's really good. 15 of 20, had 3 touchdown passes, $178. Again, just manage the game.
I'll go with Gibson.
Very, very good.
I'll go with Gibson and his interceptions. And we'll go with Elijah Mitchell. Didn't have a touchdown going into the season. Gets 2 today.
Yeah. Very, very good. Going into this game.
Yeah,
touchdowns last.
Going into this game. Yes.
What do you got, John?
I have the San Francisco 49ers fan base singing happy birthday to George Kittle's grandmother at halftime.
Let's get out on that. This has been Overtime. I'm Kyle Madsen. He's Alan Stiles. This is 95.7 The Game.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-200-1966. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-200-1966. That's 800-200-1966 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-200-1966. 800-200-1966.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Oh, want better visibility to get you through the winter? A new pair of premium wipers can help. Right now, you can earn a $10 bonus reward when you buy a pair of Rain-X Quantum Wiper Blades. See better and stay safe on the road all winter long.